Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans, college sports fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show, featuring Clay Hall. Clay, hold up your hand in case people don't know who you are. There you go. Hold up the other hand next time. It's more on the camera. But the bottom line is, Clay, spring has sprung. Even though it's still winter, spring has sprung.
Ball is back. Ryan Day at the podium like he's been for the last 8 years.
Yes, starting his 8th season at The Ohio State University.
It's comforting to me when he walks down that stairway, and we're going to fire about 40 questions at him.
Yeah.
How long did he go yesterday?
It wasn't that long.
30-ish?
It wasn't that long. I think it was like 28 minutes, 25 minutes.
I did hear some malingerers like, wait a minute. We hadn't talked to the man in 4 months. Can't we get more than,
Yeah.
We always want that.
Of course.
But you got yours.
Yeah. I'm going to start with the last first in this thing. I don't want to make this a review of Ryan Day's whole press conference or anything. Because you can download his press conference all kinds of places if you want to sit there and listen to it. I'm more interested in stuff you and I are interested in. If that's all right with you.
Yeah.
I mean, as we went through that press conference, pretty much everything was about the current team and how they've got 51 new players and a couple of new coaches and a couple of new primary coaches in offensive coordinator Arthur Smith and new wide receivers coach Cortez Hankton. It took 2 people to replace Brian Hartline.
That's right.
I guess what now? But the bottom line is now, you can have more than 10 full-time assistant coaches, full-time as in 10
on the
what's that word I want to use there? Certified assistant coaches, the big guys.
Verified.
But only 10 can recruit at any given time. So Arthur Smith, I remember I called up Ryan and he talked to me for a little while the day he hired Arthur Smith. And I was saying, well, how does he fit in? Who do you demote? Yeah, because he already hired Cortez Hankton from LSU as the new wide receivers coach. He goes, now you can have 11, maybe I think it's 12 coaches other than himself as full-time or big-time assistants is the best way to put it, because everybody on the staff now is full-time, but
and 7 of the 12 over $1 million. How about that?
Yeah, but you always see when we've got this runaway schooner,
I'm just
going
trying
across,
to get in there.
You always jump up to the lead horse instead of jumping back on, and work your way up to the lead horse.
5 words.
We're going to definitely talk about assistant coaches' salaries, and it may surprise you where I come down on that, because I believe if you got it, you got it.
Use it, like in Monopoly.
Although I've only played Monopoly probably 10 times my whole life, but you know what I mean?
Oh,
more like Jenga.
Really?
Until you pull out that one thing and the whole thing falls down. Which, if we end up in a recession, who knows what would happen, right? To NIL and everything else. But I digress. Bottom line is, they brought in Arthur, but 51 new faces of players. And, you saw where they had the players' names on the back of their helmets. As I said, they ought to have it on the front of their jerseys too, because you got to walk up to the guy and spin him around to figure out who he is, right?
That's it.
That's not the way to go through life, going up and spinning guys around. But I digress. Bottom line is, it was really funny. I think it was Dave Holmes from Channel 6, the guy who succeeded you.
Yeah.
It was a funny when you retired, but he was right. I mean, do you know all these guys? And he goes, yeah, I know them all by name and face, but number. I mean, even some of the regulars have changed numbers.
Always, every year.
Exactly. Like Kenyatta Jackson's now wearing number 2. And he wore 97?
Yes.
Yeah.
And somebody else is wearing 97.
And that was a new 97. And I think, Christian Allegro, the transfer linebacker, who, by the way, I thought looked really good in the little drills we got to watch. He looks like the real deal, which really bolsters that room, man.
Pettijohn,
with Pettijohn and
who's out, I guess.
But but the bottom line is, he's out from contact. And obviously, even though Bo Jackson and Isaiah West were taking part in those little drills we got to watch, they're not taking part in contact.
Right.
The top 2 running backs, and Ryan Day said during that press conference that if he has one concern over any other, it's that running back room, the depth of the running back room, because you got a lot of guys coming in. We're going to get to a soundtrack on one of the guys they got coming in, a Curtis Samuel-like player, as he put it. And
that's a player.
Yeah, and that's Legend Bay. I won't leave you hanging until you come back from commercial here. But there is something that could be coming down the pike. I'm told it could be anywhere, in the next 48 to 72 hours to who knows, 2 weeks, 2 months from now. But you just know that there's some kind of executive order coming from the president of the United States.
A real proclamation.
Who seems to have a lot more important things to deal with than trying to get major college programs to all operate under the same flag, even though they have the same flag, the NCAA flag. It's more like they're running independent states. And I do emphasis on the states. What's the law in this state that allows this? It doesn't allow it in that state.
Right.
That's how this whole NIL mess developed into the maelstrom that they're dealing with now.
Yeah, we're not cheating. We're in North Dakota.
Yeah, we're in North Dakota. North Dakota says we can pay with oil futures or whatever, or it's all some of the tribal reservations you can pay with their currency if they have a separate currency right on down the line and get free chits to their casinos and things. You know what I'm saying? I mean, everything's different. But anyway, I said I wasn't going to say anymore, and I've said it 400 times already. I used to have a K cup that I is what it said on the cup, but it had where the U was. And every time I said on my podcast, I'd put $1 in, and it broke me. It broke me. Matter of fact, I gave the proceeds to the Nina and Ryan Day Fund at Children's Hospital. Yeah, and made up a big check. Will Crawl was running the show. They made up a big check and had me presenting it to him. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
I think it was $500, but that's still a lot of money, right?
Well, us were valuable.
Yeah, but we had people matching it online too and stuff. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
I said it again. I said enough. But anyway, let's get to what we're talking about. I don't want to have a
Ronald Reagan would say.
I don't want to have a podcast like I had the other day where me and Jeff Stook just went off like a runaway train. What siding are they on? You know what I mean? They're going to collide. They collided. Oh, they kept going even though they collided.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, I asked him, of all the talk that you bluster and everything you heard from that round table, or it was really like an oval table.
It was a rectangular.
Yeah.
Almost.
But obviously, Urban Meyer, Ryan Day's predecessor at Ohio State, spoke and talked about how NIL has turned into a pay-for-play, which is illegal.
He said collectives are cheating.
Collectives are cheating because that was not the intention.
Right.
That was not the intention. Of course, the collectives played it off as like everybody gets a share of the players. You don't just have special players who get more. But that wasn't what the NIL intent was. If you could go out and get a all you can eat, as long as you do a commercial for them or two at like Chipotle or Longhorn Steakhouse, and they could pay you for it. You could go do that. It wasn't for everybody to be share from a collective,
right? Where
and especially the big time stars making a lot of extra money.
Yeah. And
of course, now that we have revenue sharing, everybody's getting some kind of money. Everybody's on scholarship in football, and that's the only guys who can play now, who can be on the roster or on scholarship. They're sharing in the revenue, which is like $17-18 million slice of the 20. It's going to be 21.5 million for Ohio State this year that they're going to share with football, men's basketball, women's basketball, and I think women's volleyball again. But the lion's share, not even the hyena share, goes to football.
Well, I was told, I surmised that Ohio State is paying almost 90 players, which is.
You mean from collectives or from
no
revenue share?
Revenue share.
Yeah. And I always thought, though, everybody was supposed to get some little increment, but you might be right. Right. Some people you bring in, and now you have to earn your way. I mean, you have to show you're not going to pay Justin Martin, the transfer quarterback from Maryland, who's going to be at most the backup, unless barring injuries, anywhere near what you're paying Julian Sayin. So that's how the slices get all sliced up.
And that's pretty much determined by Mark Pantoni.
Yeah.
Who's kind of like, he is the GM.
Yeah.
And so he negotiates.
And we had, Matt Wilhelm on way back a couple of months ago when his son Mason ended up being part of the recruiting class. And, he he didn't indicate how much Mason's getting, but Mason's not getting as much as Austin Serveld.
No.
Probably he may be just an incremental guy, but he has a chance to show he deserves much, much more.
Yep.
And he's on scholarship, et cetera. And like Jeff kept alluding to, Jeff Snook, the scholarship is worth. I go, yeah, buddy, but we're not. This ain't 1972. It's not even 2002. There's a whole nother land out there, and you should be, you should be grateful for being on a full scholarship. But they don't go out and just hand out full scholarships to people. They go out and recruit guys who can play football, at a high level. So you deserve more than what they were getting 5-6 years ago. How much more? We'll see if the president comes down on that,
right.
with the executive order. But I asked Ryan Day, here's the point, and I'm going to set this up. The point is there are rules out there that are governing things, are supposed to be governing things. With the CSC, I always forget what that means, but the CSC, which was established
College athletic
college sports something. But they're supposed to be able to enforce certain levels of like NIL or NIL things legitimate. Over $600, are they legit? Do they pass the smell test and the taste test? Write them down the line, but no one's really paying attention to that, even if you're told they're not. There's a backlog of approval for certain NIL deals with the NIL Go. Is it NILGO.com or NIL.go.com?
But the enforcement doesn't exist.
They have the enforcement arm, but no one's paying attention to it.
Okay.
If they say you can't do that, then they go, well, we're doing it.
Right.
Send Barney Fife out.
And that's where all the hard feelings come
Send
from.
Barney Fife to the smoke because there's a fire there.
Don't send Barney.
And the all volunteer fire department from Mayberry. Maybe they better get there. That's a long way from Mayberry to Raleigh or Duke or wherever. But I digress. The bottom line is that's what, when I asked Ryan Dave at the end of the press conference the other day, if there's one thing you'd like to see be part in somehow, some fashion of this executive order from the president of the United States, which could be coming, which makes it now federal.
Correct.
Federal rules, not state rules, not just NIL rules, but federal rules on how you conduct business. And he got right to it. I mean, in his opinion, it's the enforcement arm needs more teeth. So let's see what he had to say. Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you get Julian to run more, whatever, with that emphasis and stuff. But I guess if I have one question, what would you like to see come out of a possible imminent, some people think it's imminent, an executive order from the president to kind of straighten things out for one of another term? What would you like to see be in that executive order if you had been on that panel the other day with the other 100 guys?
Yeah, I think when I think about this, it's you probably heard me say something like this before, is that to me it all starts with the structure, and until we build a structure where we can enforce some of the rules that are in place, we're constantly just putting Band-Aids over issues, and they get ripped off. And college football for a long time has been built, okay, a rule is there, what's the loophole around it? And I think we all know right now that the rules are not being very well enforced across the country. And my concern, more than anything, is that we're raising a young group of college coaches that see it that way. That's becoming their normal, and that's not the way that I came up in this game. I mean, we used to, our phone logs and everything had to be exactly right, and the school contacts, and if the NCAA came in, man, like, you better have your stuff in order because there's going to be hell to pay. And I can't sit here and tell you that's the case anymore. And so, to me, that's the first thing that has to be addressed. And then once we get that addressed, we can deal with everything else. But until then, we're certainly going to try to, or we're going to have a situation where people are going to try to get around the rules. And when people talk about, the NFL and college, I think the biggest difference is, we all know, there's a lot of differences, but the biggest one is we recruit in college, they draft in the NFL. It's a big deal. And so having those things in place are critical. in terms of keeping the integrity of the sport. So there's a lot of great ideas. There's a lot of things that came up that are really worth a debate, and I think it's interesting conversation. But to me, that's the number one thing that has to happen, and then we can go from there.
That's it in a nutshell.
Well,
the point is there are rules, standing rules right now, which the NCAA in the old days, you were afraid of the NCAA even showing up on your doorstep.
Yeah.
Now you don't care. I mean, literally, there are a lot of schools, and by that I would hazard a guess, until proven wrong, in Division One FBS schools that don't care if the NCAA shows up. There are all these schools that now have these sugar daddy NIL funders, billionaire funders, that NIL is about. If you get a scholarship offer there, you also get an NIL offer that if above and beyond what the revenue sharing is, they'll also guarantee you're going to make this much more from NIL. I mean, right on down the line, the rules are being thumbed at. Most people are thumbing their nose at. And let me finish, and then you come back at me.
All right.
And like Ryan was talking about, I mean, I understand what he's talking about. If you have coaches on your staff and they see what School A doing it a totally different way than the way you're doing it, the bottom line is, like he said, recruiting. There's a big difference between recruiting players and drafting players,
right.
Recruiting players, and even getting players from the free agent market in the NFL. The transfer portal is very similar to that, but not really. Not the same. But the bottom line is, there's a big difference between, I pick you, I have the rights to you, I'm going to pay you this much, and I have a salary cap, I can only pay this much to all of my players like you. I can pay you a nice signing bonus.
That's called structure.
Yeah, that's called structure. Yeah. But it also, if you go above and beyond, you get penalized heavily. There is where's the penalty phase going on right now? With the NCAA, with few exceptions, there's been very little penalty phase. And like what went on at Michigan there, for those many years when they got their quote act together, or did they? They had another act going on.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, there were people who knew about it, people who investigated it, but forever, Michigan, for the most part, thumbed their nose at the investigators and the enforcers until finally they had to give in. But that's his point, is you can throw all these grandiose ideas, how to fix NIL, how to do this and the other. Well, a lot of that stuff has been covered, but it's not being enforced. Now, if you make it federal, and I understand why they're begging for federal, because some people do want to play by the rules. If you make it federal, it's a federal offense, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Whether it means you go to jail, or you pay a hefty fine, or, help us pay off the trillions of dollars of debt that we have in this country right now. Whatever it is, there's a price to be paid for not playing within the rules. And this is, like, I was trying to make this point to Jeff, and he didn't get it the other day. Mm-hmm. Maybe he got it and he just decided to ignore it. Dude, we're talking about universities, these higher bastions of, like, supposed to be integrity and learning and teaching people the right way of doing things and all this kind of stuff. And they don't trust each other. Okay, you do it that way, I'm going to do it this way. And the NCAA forever, like I said, scared you to death that they showed up to investigate you. But ever since all this other stuff has happened, they don't. I mean, they don't scare you. They show up occasionally, but they don't scare you. And how do
they show up? I don't know.
You almost have to have a moratorium where whatever you've done up to this point, that's okay.
We're starting over.
There's a new sheriff in town. His name's Reggie Hammonds.
We're turning the page.
Yeah. So go ahead. I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, it feels like it's sad, because the upshot, or the result of no enforcement, and he alluded to it right there, is that a generation of young coaches are taught to cheat or circumvent the rules.
Yeah.
And so he made that contrast of how, and I recall knowing assistants at some of these SEC schools when I was in the South, and didn't have 1 million people covering one school, and you had maybe a little better in-depth relationship with a coach.
Let me interject something.
Yeah.
That's what's always bugged me about the NCAA way of doing things. So they count on the media to be investigators for them.
They do,
which I think is BS.
Yeah,
is BS.
Yeah, that's
go ahead now.
Yeah, that's true. But no, when he was talking about the phone logs and I called this guy 4 times when I only had 3 in this quarter, and I mean, all that stuff mattered. Like he said, there was hell to pay because those 4 letters, it's like, when they showed up on your campus, and I always felt like they were tougher on my school than they were on Bama or LSU or somebody else. But it's high time. And maybe, as you say, it's coming down. Hopefully.
Anybody who watches this show knows that, you've covered Ohio State forever. I have too. But the bottom line is you're where you're from, right? And or you're where your background's from.
Yeah.
And your affinity with Mississippi State is lost on no one. Ring your bell, ding dong ding. That was a Columbus Clippers song, by the way. Remember that? But Columbus Clippers, ring your bell. But my point is, right across the state there, in Oxford, they're getting Trinidad Chambliss for another season.
Looks like
because the NCAA said no, your eligibility is done. As far as the way we've calculated for all these many years, your eligibility is done. So what they do, they went to court, got an injunction.
State court.
Yeah, got an injunction, and right now he's clear to play in 2026.
Appealing, but
of course they are. But my point is, the NCAA fought it, and in court now they're going to fight it again because they've got their rules.
Yeah,
and you shouldn't have to go to court to enforce the rules of an organization where everybody has pledged their allegiance.
That's it. They're all under this one roof.
Correct.
But
you know what? We don't agree with what you did, so we're going to fight it in court. And then while we're going to spend another $500,000 or $1 million together contesting this, he's going to play football.
Circumvent. That's
so
it. Circumvent the rule.
If you have a problem with the rule, what you do is that the next NCAA congregation, conference, convention, is you introduce rules that change it.
Yeah.
If you have such a big problem with it.
And then you have a vote.
And then whatever the group decides, that's what you go along with. So forever, and to a certain extent, football has been separate from the rest of the group. Major college football has been separate from the rest of the group for many years when it comes to NCAA legislation, because the big time schools should be playing by a different set of rules based on revenue generated and all these other things, problems that it deals with that Division II or Division III don't deal with. But once you agree to those rules, you should agree with them. I'm not going to preach on that anymore because I figure everybody's clicked out by now anyway, thinking, didn't you and Jeff get into a big rigmarole about this just a couple of days ago? Yeah, we did. But it was just interesting to see what Ryan Day had to say about it, because maybe I'm wrong. I don't think there was a current day head coach around that oblong table the other day in Washington.
Nor were there players. Student athletes.
Okay, I can understand not letting the inmates run the insane asylum.
Yeah.
But I don't understand not letting someone who's in the trenches, an active head coach or assistant coaches, have at least 2 spots at that table.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, you had, I don't want to get into that. Because, one of the reasons for that round table was it was it's dealing with more than just football. So I understand that, the other sports. Mm-hmm. But could have had 2 active basketball coaches and 2 active football coaches there too, from the big schools, the FBS, and maybe even the Power 4, to explain why these apples aren't the same as these apples. Mm-hmm. It's not just names, Fuji and Granny Smith. I mean, there's more differences than that. Agreed?
For sure. But he did have his golf partners, Urban and Nick, there. So,
well, those are guys that won national championships.
Yeah, they've lived it
and but they all both, well, for one form or fashion, either Nick right after the rules changed or Urban just before the rules really changed, got out of it because they didn't like where it was going. And so I think you need somebody from the trenches who's actually knows where it's going, has seen the tanks coming at him. Yeah. And I don't want to get into too many war analogies based on what's going on in the world today, but
Right.
it is what it is. Let's get to the real football part, because football goes on regardless.
It does.
And I know that are you putting a mint in, and you're going to talk with a mint in your mouth while we're talking?
I have to, because I'm about to gag, and I don't want to do
Okay.
that to you.
Okay. That's okay. Just don't, when you start chewing it up, which is inevitable, don't chew it up into the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, I made that play on behalf of you.
That allergy thing is coming.
I know, man. We got a huge, weird looking storm coming at us right now as we speak, right?
Yeah.
Let's get to what you thought was a question of the day, or interesting, because this guy got added to the recruiting class very late. He was committed to Tennessee. He's from Texas. His name is Legend Bay. Boy, what a name, right?
What a name.
I mean, right?
It's like Kenyon Rambo.
Yeah, except Legend. I mean, that's like Turbo Rogers, but that's, I think, a nickname for Turbo.
Right. This is
Or
his given
Bo
name.
Jackson. Bo is actually a nickname for his real name is what? Dwight Lamar.
Lamar's in there for sure.
Yeah. So his dad likes him, gave him that nickname, Bo. What a great nickname for a running back. Now live up to that, young man. It'd be like you naming me George Washington.
Yeah.
But I digress. Bottom line is, let's get to what he said. I think Dave Biddle asked him that question about
right off.
You get one question in these press conferences anymore, unless you cage it correctly. And I was polite. I only asked
Which
one.
you've done for years.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You got away.
Yeah, but when you're last, a lot of times,
Yeah.
you can push that envelope a little bit.
There
As long
you
as
go.
it's a question worthy of being asked, right? But the bottom line is, let's get to what how many of us did I say just in that one sentence? 3. Let's get to what Ryan Day had to say about the Legend Bay.
It rhymed.
How do you envision Legend Bay's role this year?
We'll have to see. Just day one out there, he's starting at running back. He played quarterback in high school, so he has a tremendous skill set, and he's dynamic when the ball's in his hands. We see him as somebody that could play running back and also move out to wide receiver. Sort of like, I wasn't here with Curtis Samuel, but I watched a lot of film when he was here. He kind of reminds me of that style of player. Remember when Xavier Johnson was here, he could play running back or move out to wide receiver. I think we're trying to get a feel for that now, because really he played a lot of quarterback in high school. So we're trying to see what best fits him when he gets moving. So today was just a start. You can see him flash, but he's got a lot of football to learn. But it was good to get these guys out here, 51 new faces. So we got a lot of film to watch and get to work on.
Absolutely.
Curtis Samuel takes you back to 16, right?
Yeah.
After the measurement.
And
he takes
Curtis Samuel, number 1 from Erasmus Hall High School in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're running down the line. Everything I remember doing a big story about him with his coach from Erasmus Hall and just where he came from. But dude, there are football players everywhere.
That's right.
If you go look for them, or keep your ear to the ground. But I know you like Legend Bay. You've brought him up several times. And like we said earlier, what a name. Okay, let's give our kid a name where he can blend in. Legend. I mean, John Legend, at least that's his last name. Or
right.
I don't know if it's his real last name or not. But what is he's from Springfield, right? Or Springfield area? John Legend.
Legend. Yeah.
But anyway, Legend Bay.
Legend Bay. It was interesting yesterday as I was watching the running backs, excuse me, and he was going over to tie a shoe or do something, came up, grabbed a ball, and then went straight to the first in line. And, when we were in school, hey, he cut the line.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe he was supposed to be in a certain path, or maybe he was number 1 in the, and I don't want to accuse the kid, but it's out there. And I noticed somebody said, I'm glad he cut the line, because that tells me he wants it. And I said, I'm agreed. I'm not going to fault him for that, but he was ready to go. He hopped back in there, made his little rep, and Carlos Lachlan said, come here. you know, and he said, get that ball. And he told everybody that.
Ball security.
But and it's almost, and I guess I haven't ever noticed it that cleanly and clearly, that you tuck that sucker almost under your gear. Your headgear.
Yeah.
It's not out here.
You don't want your fist hitting your chin, but you want it close.
Yeah. But anyway,
you want to get the points here and the point there.
So he's number 2, and his corresponding brother on the other side is Kenyatta Jackson.
Yeah. But back to Legend Bay. And the thing is, this is what has really bothered me. Some narratives about Arthur Smith coming in, narratives that were generated. Well, he's part of the Steelers. Look what they did on offense. Well, they had all kinds of problems on offense last year from a personnel standpoint. Obviously, he was the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons for several years. He knows you got to have a big-time passing game along with a big-time running game in the National Football League. If anything, Ohio State wants a professional-looking offense and probably lean 50-50, throwing the ball and running the ball based on the talent at hand. When you are controlling the ball on the ground against some of the teams you play, then you want to be able to control the ball on the ground. Forget about the passing game to an overextent, except for putting some daggers, in corpses.
Ending a game.
Yeah.
Right.
So to speak. But said again. Bottom line is, Legend Bay, the great thing about a Legend Bay, and we're talking about a guy we haven't even seen play football.
4-star
on the college level, not even in a full practice. We got to watch about 20 minutes of practice the other day before they really started doing some kind of scrimmaging, and they weren't scrimmage. They were in half pads and all that kind of stuff. But the point is, the options, as I like to say, the options that gives you having a player like that on the field, which is what, if anything, they overexploited from Curtis Samuel his senior year, of not changing anybody on the field, but suddenly you go from having a running back to that guy being a slot back who is quite capable of doing something from the slot, big time capable, without changing personnel, which means the defense probably hasn't changed personnel. Just those kind of like options.
The versatility.
That's like more clay, pardon the expression, more clay for the potter.
Okay.
Which is Arthur Smith and his compatriots there in the offensive room, right?
That's it. He gets to mold the clay.
What I liked about it might have been the same thing, but I think after Carlos Loughlin made his point to him about how you hang on to a football in college football and in the NFL without fumbling, I think he made all the running backs do up downs.
Yeah, he also takes a couple of good punches too at it, which is but I mean, Carlos Loughlin is nobody to mess with, No.
I'm not sure I like the way James Peoples was handled at the end of the year last year, which was part and parcel to why he ended up leaving. Because I thought James Peoples kind of came into his own at the end of the regular season last year.
He was trending up.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And he had their first true breakaway for a touchdown. I don't care who it was against. And he was really trending up. And then all of a sudden in the Indiana game and the Miami game, I'm not sure he even got on the field. And the point is, then at the end of the season, he hit the transfer portal and is now at Penn State University, helping Matt Campbell get things straight. But, I think Ryan Day really liked James Peoples as pardon the pun, as a person. But then on top of that, sometimes it takes people a while when you finally get that shot, or Peoples a while, when you finally get that shot to really come into your own, because he was kind of given that first break at the beginning of the season last year and didn't really quite pop and stuff. But the guy was extremely well respected, I think, in the locker room, et cetera, as a quasi leader of the team. And you've talked to him, just a great young man.
He is. I met him at that Cotton Bowl in Dallas.
Yeah.
When the former running backs coach had brought him in.
Right. So anyway, but it is what it is now. As you heard Ryan Day say yesterday, running backs probably their biggest concern, at least in the spring, of because the two guys are going to be one and 1A aren't going to be taking part in true spring football. That would be Bo Jackson and Isaiah West. And so Legend Bay and all these other guys are going to have a chance to step forward. So I'm very curious to watch that room. Is it, the transfer from where is it? Florida State, Jacoby Jackson, wherever he's from. I'm very curious to watch. He's from one of the 2 Florida schools. I'm very curious to watch him, for example, become a leader in that room. That's one of the reasons he was brought in, because he's been around for a while. And Ryan Day touched on that yesterday too, about how important it was to make this roster older over the course of recruiting, but mainly over the course of transfer portal transactions. We're going to get to his video there coming up right now.
31 transfers, I think it was. Got some veteran guys. How much was a change in philosophy? That's the right word. You guys had a great regular season. Didn't have a lot of adversity. Probably when the playoff and postseason happened, that would kind of hit you in the head a little bit.
Yep.
How much of that was a conscious decision? Okay, we have a fixed pool of NIL, that kind of thing. Let's pay for proven production. Let's get the Terry Moores, the Earl Littles, those kind of guys. And that's a new philosophy. And is that true? And how do you mold those guys back, to get that kind of brotherhood feeling again?
No, I think it's a great question, because I think every year is a little different. But a part of what you just said was, I don't think anybody realizes how many guys here over the last, 7 years have left after 3. I don't know if maybe there's a program that's had more guys leave after 3 years. Maybe someone can do some research. But, we've had a lot. And really, the guys who are all being considered like first rounders right now, I consider Sonny a 3 and done because of the reclassification. But when you look at Carnell, when you look at Caleb, when you look at K-Mac, when you look at, Arvell and Sonny, those guys are really 3-year guys. So you're losing all that experience. Now, if they were 4th and 5th year seniors, naturally, you just see some guys step into those roles. But when you lose those guys, man, it makes a big difference. And 2 years ago, when you saw, Jack and JT and Tyleek and Cody and some of these guys, Lathan, come back, they were already within the program, and we were veteran that way. When you see guys who are going to be seniors walk out the door, the first thing you got to do is you got to get some more veteran guys in that room, or else you're just constantly young. I felt like we were a little young this year, quite honest. And so when you go through it and you get some more senior guys in there, it's just a different approach. We felt like we needed that. So I think when you look at the guys who actually left and the guys that came in, I think there's a significant matrix out there, or some sort of analytic that shows, in terms of how our number of games played and age gap went up maybe a year and a half or 2 years. And that was by design, for sure, because we felt like when those guys were walking out the door, we better replace them with some more veteran guys. Now, that being said, they have to be the right guys, and they have to fit what we do and believe in our culture. So all those things are into consideration. Now, each year it's a little different based on what you have in the room.
I mean,
We were too young.
it's funny when you look at it. I mean, obviously, they're like based on somebody else's computations. By the way, I have trouble doing 1 + 1 is 2, but they're older by like another year and a half on average, compared to what the roster.
This roster.
Yeah, this roster compared to
Yeah.
even I think last year's roster. And like you said, you can't have all first and second, third year players staring at you. Number one, and then the toughest thing for college football is your superstars. If you recruited your superstars, and that's mainly what you do 95% of the time, by their third year, they want to move on to the national football. And that's when they're just becoming really big time players.
That's right.
A lot of them. And we saw examples of that this past year. And Caleb Downs, see, when they got in from Alabama on that transfer after Nick Saban retired and he made that move, they knew they weren't only going to have him 2 years barring injury.
For sure.
And that's what they got out of him. The best safety in college football, though. They got 2 solid years out of him. And, part of a national championship year. And then this last year, the Ronnie Lott Award and several other major awards. So you have to roll with the dice. But every time you look up, and like I said, there's a second-year player sitting there instead of a fourth-year player. Well, I think people understand this. It's kind of like being a teacher, where every year you look up and you're teaching the same course again, bringing guys up to speed Whereas if you've got veterans in there, they can help you bring guys up to speed. But then the main thing is veterans have played in the war, so to speak.
I think it's comfort level.
Yeah.
You can look at a guy and you don't have to repeat this.
Yeah.
It's like he's there. He knows what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
I'm confident in what we got.
Yeah. Now let's go when it comes to picking coaches. He picked Arthur Smith. He didn't elevate someone from his staff like he did a year ago with Brian Hartline when he needed an offensive coordinator. Brian Hartline was already co-offensive coordinator because he'd been elevated, 2 years before that.
Yep.
And things didn't work out in that regard. Then for several reasons probably, but then he went out and got Chip Kelly, and all of a sudden, boom, Chip Kelly's gone. And you go with Brian Hartline. But this, like he pointed out, somebody wanted to say, well, Brian Hart, wanted to kind of make the assertion Brian Hartline having a first-year offense coordinator might have been, calling plays and stuff might have been one of the problems last year. He goes, whatever it was, last year. This year, he went out and purposely went for a guy like Arthur Smith because those guys don't come around very often that are available. And as he points out in this next cut, I think it was Cameron Teague Robinson from The Athletic who asked him about Arthur Smith and why he went after him. I mean, we haven't really gotten this kind of explanation from Ryan up until now, and that happened back in February. But the bottom line is you've got your offensive coordinator was a head coach in the National Football League. Your defensive coordinator was a head coach in the National Football League, along with being good at what the other thing they do, which is coordinate. So
Tim, don't you think there's 10, 15, 20 schools around the country that went, do you see what Day did?
Yeah.
He's got 2 NFL coordinators.
Yeah.
I mean, as you have spoken many times about his development as a head coach.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Tim Walton was a defensive coordinator in the National Football League briefly.
There you go.
But he's been in the NFL for a long time, was in the NFL for a long time. Plus the fact he's an alum of Ohio State. I think he does a hell of a job coordinating the secondary as a whole, et cetera.
Yeah, he's promoted him.
Yeah. And of course, James Laurinaitis is in the College Football Hall of Fame as a player and was in the NFL for 8 years?
8 or 9.
8 or 9 years, whatever the number was. It was a long time. He has rep about him.
That's it.
Just right on down the line. So Cortez Hankton, the new wide receivers coach, was in the NFL. And, of course, was an assistant coach at Georgia and LSU. Has recruited in the Shark Tank.
That's it.
I mean,
that's right.
Because, when you go to the Shark Tank, you got to make that pitch. They get, and I'm talking about in the Southeastern Conference. So, yeah, I mean, I thought last year was as good a staff as I've seen. I thought the year before that was as good a staff as I've seen, with Jim Knowles as defensive coordinator and Chip Kelly as offensive coordinator. And, of course, Jim Knowles, that defense came into its own there in his third year before he moved on because they didn't want to go over the 3 million mark for a defense coordinator. Well,
they did
this year with Matt Patricia, and Ryan kind of explains that, and as this elongated cut from Ryan Day from his press conference on Tuesday after the first day of spring ball. Let's get right to that. Is that okay with you, Clay?
Let's go.
Ryan, when you look at when you evaluated things this offseason and trying to look at what you want to do with an offense coordinator, obviously brought in Arthur. What do you like so much about having 2 NFL coordinators? And then kind of obviously Chip was that guy for you, and then you brought in Matt on defense. What do you like so much about having NFL guys?
Not only that, but former head coaches in the NFL. So when you come with that perspective, it's, we always say, you learn so much when you when you take on a new role, and I think the managing of their staffs on their side of the ball is critically important. You're seeing Matt do that now with some of the staff hires and changes that we're making on his side of the ball, and then as Arthur's starting to install some of the things that he has done in the past, there's a system in place for it, and it's not the NFL, but it's pretty close. The hash marks are different, the guys are a little bit different, but there's a lot of things that carry over here. So that's been good, and it's ultimately, we've talked about this many times, it allows me an opportunity to kind of step away and really dive into everything else and just be more present in the building, with the players, with the staff, certainly with, the NIL stuff in terms of raising money, asking questions, it's a different mindset. Now, that being said, we're going to get in there in the film and figure out what are the things we've done in the past that fit what we're doing, and what are the things that, moving forward, we want to kind of look at and change to build an identity, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build an identity that carries throughout the entire season. And when you have somebody like Arthur, who's been through it before, he's been through playoff games, he's played the long season in the NFL, you have to kind of build towards the end of the season, and that's the goal here for us, because when you think about the way things are structured now, you got to be building towards the end of the season. Now, next year with some of the games that we play, you got to start right from the jump on it too, and you got to play throughout the length of the season. And I think it's an opportunity for us to continue to get stronger throughout the season, get challenged in certain areas, so that when it comes time to play in December and January, we're going to be salty because we've been through the fire. And so having some experienced guys like that running the offense and defense is going to be something that we count on to pay dividends in the end.
Fourth row in the middle, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Ryan, just to follow up on that, what did you learn maybe just from last year about, working with Brian Hartline, somebody who was a first-year offensive coordinator, and how much did that kind of give you reason to want to bring in someone like Arthur who had that experience, who could be kind of that head coach of the offense?
Well, every year is a different dynamic. So whether it's the guys on the offense or the guys on the defense, and what you have, and everything comes into play. Recruiting comes into play, dynamics come into play, and so every year we try to do what we can to figure out what went on the year before or the year before that, and try to project what we need in that moment. And Arthur seemed like the right fit. The other part that was really different for us is when they changed the rule in terms of number of coaches. We now have Cortez coaching the wide receivers, but we also have Arthur as the offense coordinator. So it's a +1 there, and that was a change. And so that's a little bit more like an NFL operation, just in terms of how we structured that. And I got to give Ross and the board credit for allowing us to do that, because that was a whole nother position, and knowing how important that is. And we spent a lot of time talking about development here and how we develop our guys. So if I'm a recruit and I come in and I have Patricia on offense and Arthur on offense and Matt on defense, I know I'm going to get, coached like an NFL team, like an NFL organization. And if you come and watch practice like a lot of recruits did today, or you guys got a chance to see some of that's an NFL practice right there. So that, guys know that they're going to have an opportunity to develop and be ready to step into these roles. And that's a big part of recruiting nowadays, because it has changed. NIL is a big part of recruiting, but still these guys want to get developed. And for guys who want to look at the long-term goals and where they want to be in 5 to 10 to 20 years down the road, I think it gives us an edge because of our history, what we've done, and the type of people that's in the building. So all of that comes into play when making these hires.
Third row, Spencer Holmer.
Yeah, Ryan, as you were talking to Matt throughout the offseason and the different options that he had in front of him, what were those conversations like, and how big of a relief was it when he said, yeah, I'm coming back? But then also, he's been here for a year now. How have you seen him maybe settle in? Obviously, he was pretty comfortable with it last year, but settling into the college game and another offseason with him.
Well, when you get around Matt, you quickly learned how important family is to him and relationships are to him. You guys have seen that. And to see his personality come out, to see the side of Matt that we all know has been excellent, and with the staff, with the players. But Ohio State's a great place to be. The city of Columbus is tremendous. It's a great place to have a family. He has a young family, and his family, loves it here. The community has embraced them, which was important. And so everyone's at different points of their careers. But when you have a young family, like, that matters. You take all things into consideration. You think about, the way things are set up on campus medically, and just, the healthcare, when, all the different things that come in with being at Ohio State. You get a chance to coach some of the best players in the country. You get to be around a program that right now has great people in it, and you start to add all these things up. I think he would tell you it's a great place to go to work every day. Does he have options? Yes. Did he have options? Yes. But I think he found a lot of joy in making an impact on these guys' lives at a different point in their lives than what he was used to in the NFL. And so, we were able to work something out to keep him here, and we knew that was important. The guys, really enjoy getting, working with him and learning from him. And then the other part of it is his impact on the staff and some of the younger coaches that are in that room, so that we can continue to build that room and build the strength of the coaching staff on that side of the ball.
Yeah, as I tweeted out, last night, because all the salaries were posted. Our buddy Dan Hope, from 11 Warriors, who asked one of those questions in there.
Yeah.
But the bottom line, tweeted all the new salaries because all of the contracts were announced yesterday. The new contracts for the new people or rearrangements of some of the others. When you see that Matt Patricia is going to make north of $3 million, really good salary. What number was that, by the way? Do you remember?
Just less, just under 4, 3.75 this season, up to 3.85 in 27 and 28.
Yeah.
He made 2.5 last year.
Yeah. My point was, if you were part of the people that were saying you got to keep him at all costs, then whatever that cost was, you got to go along with it, right? And he was being sought after. Arthur Smith, they kind of got for a bargain a little bit because
I think so.
He's probably still got money coming to him from the National Football League, much like Matt Patricia did. What was his number? Do you remember? It was like 1.7 or something for Arthur Smith
Before he came?
No, now what's he getting paid?
1.5.
Yeah.
And so he goes up to 2 and 27.
Yes.
Here's the thing that strikes you. Last year's salary pool for the assistant coaches, 11.7, which was way up there. This year, 15.3.
Mm-hmm.
And as you told me earlier in the show, if you got it, use it.
Use it. If you have the tokens in your pocket, plug them in. The bottom line is, when you throw in Ryan's salary, which is what, 12.5, 13.
Correct.
That's a lot of money.
Man,
that's more than the revenue sharing that you're giving out to the players, but that's a lot of money for a coaching staff. But here's the thing. You're making more money than anybody else in the nation when it comes to athletic department revenue. Of which the football program is by far the largest contributor to, which brings everything else in perspective, but that's a whole nother Jeff Snook conversation. But my point is, it is what it is at this point. There's no way to compare Ryan Day, as I like to say, to Woody Hayes, who his last year was making $48,500 or something.
Wow.
As the head coach, somewhere in that neighborhood, 49, let's say.
That was 78-ish.
That was 1978 was his last full season. Well, it was his last season, whatever that means. Bottom line is, as Ryan Day pointed out in that conversation right there, Ryan Day's the head coach. At times he's been the quasi-offensive coordinator for many years, but now he's got two coordinators who have been head coaches in the National Football League, who know how to run things, and all these other guys who've been around, understand how the system works. Like I always tell people, it's not Arthur Smith's offense. It's the Ohio State offense. The closest they've come to going to somebody else's, quote, system was Jim Knowles when he came in.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, with that 4-2-5 and the Leo, which, by the way, the Leo kind of disappeared, Leo was
that project wasn't funded.
It wasn't fully funded in the terms, but Jack Sawyer played a little bit of that and some other guys. But the bottom line is, so what you always want is you want continuity within your systems from one year to the next, because you never know when a coordinator is going to get a head coaching job.
Bingo.
He's going to get hired by the NFL somewhere else or elsewhere. You want continuity in terms of terms and things like that. But what's really cool about the last couple of years especially is you do still want coming in the door another way of looking at things, because you want to be ever changing. Your basic stuff may not be changing, but you want to be changing your look, so to speak, because who knows if there's another Connor Stallions lurking out there, or if somebody's bugging your building or bugging your practices, which is probably more easy today than it's ever been.
Maybe at times you want to be challenged.
But the point is, you want to be a little different this year than you were last year.
That's
maybe a lot different in some ways of going about things. So it makes sense to bring guys in who are used to working in that cauldron, that fishbowl. It's a fishbowl in a cauldron. It's hot and wet, and there are people looking in from the side.
You can get burned.
Trying to figure out how you're going to swim through all that.
Right.
Well, I took that analogy all the way to the end.
Shark Tank.
Yeah, but the bottom line is, but I'll tell you what, we'll just end it with this.
Okay.
Maybe the toughest thing I still say, and Ryan Day kind of hints at it is tough at this point in spring ball, is looking out there. The guys you brought in, them face to face, but that number they're in, what's up with that? Like we talked about Riley Pettijohn changing from 20 to 5.
Right.
And then Riley Pettijohn is basically out taking part in the big time drills. The reason not disclosed, but you would probably think it has something to do with a tweak surgery of one form, either knee or shoulder, something like that. But the bottom line, he's not out there, but he uses him as an example. But Dave Holmes, your successor at the WSYX and Fox, right? They're still a combo unit, right?
Duopoly, yeah.
Yeah, you think Channel 10 and Channel 4 are going to be a duopoly too, man, in that regard?
I think they'll have to be.
Man, there'll be some of our friends who may not be around in a couple of years. I mean, because of that.
Yeah.
Since the company that owns Channel 4 is in the process of buying Channel 10, the company that owns Channel 10, but I digress. That's for somebody else to worry about, not me, right?
Yeah, we're out of that rat race.
Yeah, let's get to Dave Holmes and his question for Ryan Day along those lines.
With a roster like this, you said 51 new, 112 out there. I mean, could you name every jersey number first?
Oh yeah. Well, jersey number, no.
So that's what is there a rep today where you look across the field, you're like, I don't even know who that is doing that rep? Does that happen on day one?
No, I know, but the jersey numbers is something that's very that gets contentious fast, and so Quinn's right in the middle of that, and that's a big matrix on how we figure out who has what jersey and when they ask for it, their seniority, if they've done right by Coach Mick, if they're champions, and then people put in for jersey numbers like a year in advance. When he leaves, I'm going to be ready for that one. And then you have to figure out special teams and if there's going to be any kind of issue with two guys being on the field at once. So when you see a guy out there for the first time, Riley wasn't practice today, but I saw him in 5 today, and I'm used to seeing him in 20. I'm like, who's this guy, number 5? And so anyways, yeah, you have to get used to it, but it doesn't take long to be out there. We get so many reps, you just get a feel for it.
Yeah, imagine if we came into our studio every day and there were new guys around.
112 of them.
Yeah, 112 of them. Yeah. And
that'd be difficult.
Not only that, but they've been assigned numbers, some of the veterans, but they're not wearing that number anymore. Imagine, I mean, it took me half the year last year to get used to the fact Brandon Ennis was wearing number 1. I don't know why that was the case. Maybe if they'd thrown the ball to him a lot more earlier in the season, I would have caught on.
It's their fault.
But I would have caught on.
I know. Some you just don't. They don't register.
Yeah, no, but I have to, dual think. But I've always marveled at like Jim Tressel back in the day, and Ryan's been here going on 8 years now. He's been here as long as a lot of these. Urban Meyer was only head coach for 7 seasons.
Yeah, longer than Urban.
Yeah, and John Cooper was 13. But just how these guys, when you first start out as a head coach, you're grateful for every person that shows up. And they will be in your brain forever. Right. Those first couple of years. But how you just even with a prompter have a guy walking around with you. Hey, who's that guy over there standing in the practice field? I mean,
78. Who?
You don't remember that guy? That was AJ Hawk or something. You know what I mean?
On the sideline. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zach Harrison.
That's what marvels me about Coach Tressel is the way he could remember stuff like that. Now that's a gift. Not everybody. I clearly was not born with it, but I can remember some things. But it's just amazing how many lives you interact with,
you touch
as a coach.
Wow.
And imagine you go from this school to that school, and then somebody from the 2 previous schools you were at remembers you, but you don't remember them. You see them in public or something. It's just got to be a strange thing. But that's, ladies and gentlemen, until things really change dramatically, that's the world these coaches are living in now. And it's probably only going to get stranger, except I do believe there's going to come down the pike somehow, some way, might even in this executive order, and how long the executive order will last without being challenged in court, I think probably is going to be about 3 minutes. the executive order coming down from the president to kind of help straighten things, add some guardrails to things, because everything that comes out of that's going to be challenged, everything from a legal standpoint. Yeah. But the biggest thing could happen is, number one, transfer portal being pared down to one shot. You get one free shot. The next time you transfer, you got to sit out a year. There has to be some type of like, okay, you made 2 mistakes, or you ended up, if you want to use the excuse, well, my coach got fired. Okay. If you, in 2 straight years, your coach got fired, well, that's tough luck. Yeah. That's pot luck, as they call it.
You still get
in the NFL. In the NFL, when your coach gets fired, you don't get to go to the front office and go, you know what? I don't really like this new guy. You can, and they can try to move you, like Trey Hendrickson, or Trey Hendricks, excuse me. Yeah. But it might not work out for you. So, but the bottom line is
they moved him.
I've always said, and it didn't even get to this, the only way you truly get a hold of what's really the problem right now is with the word contract, meaning when a player comes to you, either in recruiting or he's been released to go into the transfer portal by his previous team, and you sign him to a contract, you have a legal entanglement there. That's what would solve a lot of it, because you can't just get up and leave from a legal entanglement. You can get up and leave. You can get up and leave, but you won't be playing football in the NCAA or in whatever organization it ends up being without the express written consent of the team you just left. Okay, that wasn't working out. But the bottom line is, it would be an entanglement for both the player and the university. The player would have rights that would be handled large part by a collective bargaining agreement, because you'd be under contract, you'd be an employee. See, the colleges don't want to go there. See, they want all this. They want they still want more of the power than the players who are involved in stuff. And just like we're looking at right now, imagine being Julian Sayin. He showed up at Ohio State in 2024. Chip Kelly was the offensive coordinator. The next season, Brian Hartline was his offensive coordinator. Now his offensive coordinator is Arthur Smith, but Julian Sayin's still around because it's pretty much the Ohio State offense as outlined by Ryan Day. And so, there are all kinds of reasons why Julian could be sitting there going right now, hey, this is confusing, huh?
Yeah, I want
to go somewhere with stability. Well, hey, name that school. Where's their stability right now, right? So,
right, exactly.
All right, we covered all that.
Got it.
That's enough talking about until the executive order comes out. I'm tired of giving people free advertisements about having the answers.
You may have,
because I'm telling you, I've been saying all along for 5 years, the only answer, the only thing that gets you down the road to answers is the word contracts. And until you're willing to address that, just like a coach can't just get up and leave because he's under contract. Now, there are agreements within the contracts about, well, wait a minute,
buyouts.
If job A comes along, or if an NFL opportunity comes along or whatever, I have it in my contract, I'm allowed to leave. That's where the fine print comes. But when it comes to players, and there should be something for, should be something for sticking around through challenges.
Yeah.
Should be something ingrained in you from your parents about sticking around through challenges. But being guaranteed on the backside from a collective bargaining agreement or something, you're going to get yours, meaning you're just due if things go according to Hoyle. But I don't think Hoyle was ever, definitely in modern times, a major college football coach, as Ryan Day pointed out a while ago, just throwing in there, having to deal with NIL things and boosters and sponsors and all that kind of stuff. Woody never had to deal with that. Yeah, he dealt with the boosters downtown and things like that, but his agenda every morning when he woke up had very little to do with anything except making sure guys were going to class. He even taught a class to making sure they're getting their treatments. During the off season, they didn't really have an off season workout regimen.
Yeah, but they went home and like Jim Lachey, he worked on the farm.
Yeah, but he didn't work on the farm. He didn't work on the farm from,
but it wasn't,
he didn't work on the farm all day, every day is my point.
Yeah.
And, and everybody, the guys who really cared would show up early in the summer, start getting that really got going when I first started covering football, Ohio State football back in the mid 80s,
That year
1984. But where you'd work out a little bit year round, but then in the summer, guys would show up and start just going through their own drills. I mean, working out and weightlifting and getting ready for the season, getting ready for that, for one of another term, that stress test you have to go through, the fitness test you have to go through before the season starts. And then preseason camp, you'd have 2-a-days, and under Tressel or Cooper's regime, 3-a-days. They weren't all 2.5 hours long, but you would work your way into shape as camp went along. Now
it's 1 a day.
Yeah, but they show up. They've been working out, doing little workouts through the summer. They're sharp pretty much on the drills they're going to be going through. They're sharp physically, and if anything, they have to kind of back off a little bit to get ready for the season. But I digress. Spring has sprung at Ohio State. We'll be back to talk about more of it. We're going to get a conversation with Julian Sayin and the defensive end. Who am I thinking of? Kenyatta Jackson. After practice on Thursday, Ohio State's second practice. And then the way they work things now, they try to get a couple practices in just to get guys acclimated to the routine they're going to be in. But then they're off for a week for spring break, the whole university. Yeah. And so then they come back and do the rest of the 15 allotted practices, which would be 13, but that 13 includes the spring game. So for my good buddy, my compadre, Clay Hall, I'm Tim May. There's a good chance we're going to have a special guest in on Friday. I'm trying to figure out a way where my good friend Clay Hall can have Fridays off because, he's a pain in the butt when he doesn't get Friday off. Let me just put it that way, ladies and gentlemen. Pain in the butt. But
Monday and Wednesday is great, though.
Yeah,
the GOAT.
Clay's one of the greatest guys. One of the greatest guys I've gotten to know. I can't heap more praise on him.
Oh, the hell with that.
Than that. For Clay Hall, I'm Tim May. We'll see you next time.
Shh. By the way, Clay has left the room. I wanted to let you folks in on a real bargain out there in the world of simulator golf. The Back Nine Golf, which is located at 2820 Fishinger Road in Upper Arlington, has a hell of a holiday box available to you right now. The value is nearly $300, but your price is $150 if you jump online. That's almost 50% off if you jump online at Columbus at theback9golf.com. That's their email address. Their website is theback9golf.com/Columbus-upper-Arlington-OH/ That's a long address, but just write it down a couple times watching it. And you can also call them at 614-362-7888, parentheses, PUTT, P-U-T-T. But the bottom line is one of the new ultra modern simulators that you can find in the greater Columbus area. And it's really right there in the middle of Upper Arlington. I know Tito Thidoff and I hopped in there the other day. I think it was 16 degrees outside. There was snow and ice everywhere, and we played Pebble Beach. And we did it in less than an hour. So it's one of the great bargains going out there. And with this holiday box, you get 1 month of Birdie membership. You get Back Nine branded golf balls. You get cozy Back Nine beanie, and you get premium Back Nine towel. So that's a hell of a deal because basically it's unlimited golf. It's 24/7. You get a code to get you in the door, and then you can go from there. And it's definitely fun. It's the premises are pristine. I know we had a great time. We even played closest to the hole, a few shots on number 7, famed number 7 short par 3 at Pebble Beach the other day, and had a great time doing it. So if you're looking for that last minute gift for a golfer that you love, or yourself that you love, that you're a golfer, nothing wrong with giving yourself a gift at this time of the year. That's the Back Nine Golf holiday box, and it's only a limited time. And as you can imagine, there are only a few available. Quantities are tight. So check in at theback9golf.com.